So I just watched the Tucker Carlson interview RFK Jr. and the man's grasp of history, being as he was so much a part of it, uh, will shock everybody. So let's go on air and talk about it. Hey everybody, this is Tom. It's Tom's Talk Show. I like to sit down and talk about things whenever something strikes me, and this tonight struck me really, really hard. It's just the things that are going on in the world, and the fact that our government and people in our government are complicit, heavily complicit in that. Really has you. It means it's time to take pause, right? It's time to talk about it, take pause, talk about it, and get information out to people about what is going on. And if you have not seen the Tucker Carlson interview with RFK Jr., I highly recommend that you take the time. It's like an hour and 21 minutes. It's definitely worth all of that time. This is not like going and seeing the new Snow White movie, which is going to be, of course, garbage. But this is like definitely worth you taking the time, going through, pausing, looking up what he's saying, finding out what's going on, rewinding, listening to what he says again. Because of his voice, he has that condition with his voice that sometimes makes it a little bit difficult to understand what he's saying. But if you dig back in and maybe rewind a little bit and go, okay, that's what's going on, then it all comes out, and you can understand what is going on. I mean, he touches on a few different subjects. I mean, I'm not, next election, I'm definitely not going to vote for RFK Jr. I mean, he's definitely on the wrong side of the aisle on some other subjects, but his grasp of history, his explanation of history, and what is going on, I mean, it's, even if only a small portion of what he is talking about is true, then our government is no longer our government, is not for the people. There is no we the people in order to form a more perfect union. That is not. We don't have that anymore. So he explains that one of the reasons that we're in Ukraine and working in Ukraine is because there is a cabal, right, of, calls them neocons, that are working to basically destroy the Russian government by proxy. And in that, so years and years ago, after World War II, I guess the different governments met with Gorbachev, and he said, I'll give you back, the other side of Germany, and you can reunite Germany as long as you don't, move, the UN, NATO countries any closer to Russia, because he didn't want that. So the United States did it anyway. According to RFK, we have, Minuteman missiles 14 minutes away from Moscow, that he didn't like. He didn't want that. So he was threatened, and over the years, and that's why he went to Crimea. That's what, all these different things. He had reasons for why he did these things. He actually, seemingly was trying to uphold his end of the, deal that they signed, more than the United States was. And I guess some of these neocons in the United States, this cabal, is there to try and make it sure that nobody ever has to fight Russia again. And by doing all of these proxy wars, we're just draining them of their finances. Well, in this context, in today's world, that draining is also inflating our U.S. dollar and destroying our country at the same time. So it's not a good. There's no win here at all. The backstory inside of it of course, as we all know, Hunter Biden working, in through by proxy of the Bidens to make changes in the government in Ukraine, getting prosecutors removed, doing different things that are beneficial to what this cabal, of which Biden is obviously a pawn of, a puppet of this cabal. So there was, according to RFK Jr., and I kind of remember this happening, like there were talks and stuff between Putin and Ukraine that Russia had marched 40,000 troops towards Kyiv, and most of this was because there was these threats of Ukraine's going to get missiles. Ukraine is going to, the U.S. is going to bring forces in there. The U.S. is going to give them, more military might. We have, once Fauci a few years ago got in trouble with some of his bioweaponry, he moved all of his bioweapon facilities to Ukraine. So Russia's like, well, we really don't want that, right? There are still Russians here in Ukraine that live in Ukraine that don't necessarily want to be part of Russia, but they don't really want to be part of Ukraine. So we want to give them some autonomy. So in comes 40,000 troops. They get to a table. They meet. They're communicating back and forth. And Zelensky and Putin, and they iron out a deal. Okay, good. That's a good deal. We'll start moving our troops back out. And then Biden and his people come in and convince Zelensky to not go for the deal. So it was this deal based on some accords that were happened, a decade or more ago. I think is what it was, but happened a long time ago. And there were, to keep Ukraine, and let these these citizens of Ukraine who happen to just be more Russian than anything else, give them a little bit of autonomy away from Ukraine, but not still those people to not be under, Soviet control. So our government went and killed the deal so that we could escalate the war in Ukraine. So this is 100% our government's fault. We're completely at fault for this going on. We're completely the cause of it. I didn't vote for that. I didn't want that. I don't want my tax dollars going to that at all. I think our government, and then we see, in the news, a kindly, elderly, church-going gentleman gunned down by the FBI because he's frustrated with this government. Yeah, okay, so he put in some things out on Facebook that he should not have, right? Of course. But you can express your dismay and frustration in other non-violent ways, right? And I spend probably an hour on Twitter with all of the posts from the White House and everything else, them stating some kind of fact that they really hope would be true, but it's even underneath some of those posts, there's little blocks like community, comments about this that has been posted are not true, right? Even the White House now is getting basically fact checked for its lies that it's putting out, right? So it's more apparent now, I think, today than at just about any time in history that our government is not for us. Our government is like, it's a rogue nation, right? It's off doing the things that is going to best fulfill the pocketbooks of this cabal, this oligarchy, and all that is going to be driven down onto the backs of ordinary middle and lower class Americans have to bear the brunt of that. Funding it's a wealth transfer, right? It's transferring all the money from all poor people to all the rich people. So I mean, RFK, explains something that he's seeing now, like people like we just hit another record of the amount of credit card debt that people in this country has hit a new record high. I think it's in the trillions of dollars, right? People are trying to afford the basic necessities of life, right? I mean, I got to get to work, but that's going to cost, $15 for me to get to work and back, or we can buy food, do we buy, what eggs do we buy? Do we buy these eggs or do we buy these cheap eggs? What milk do we buy? Well, we can buy the name brand or we can buy the store brand. And instead of buying, the half gallon, we're going to have to buy the quart of the name brand. We need to the kids need cereal to go to school so they can have breakfast when they go to school. Well, we need to get the store brand version of that because that's less money. And then it needs to be something that they can eat without having to put milk on it because there might not be enough milk to put on the cereal. They'll has to be something that they can just eat and, eat by hand, right? Don't even give it in a bowl. Give them in another Ziploc bag if you've actually got a Ziploc bag left. This is the America that's being created by this government. And it comes out very clearly in what RFK is talking about. I mean, he continues to talk about, more things that you need to watch the whole video. Just need to really watch it about, the border and things that are happening to the people on the border, that the cartel has control of the border. We don't. I mean, they know how many people are coming over because they know that the buses that the cartel drop people off with each hold 55 people. 2 buses show up, you got 110 people. It's that calculated. It's that exact. And nobody coming here is fleeing anything or under any kind of oppression. Very, very, very few people are. He relates that one family had lost their daughter because their daughter was attractive. The cartel had taken her away to do whatever they were going to do. Obviously, sell into sex slavery. And this is happening because our border is completely open and nothing is being done. And the president is off on vacation, taking more vacation than any other president in the history of the country. It's definitely time for people to start talking. Definitely time for people. I don't care what side of the aisle that you're on. A family coming here from another country and losing their daughter, and the fact that they're at the border, there's a tree called the rape tree because the border is wide open and the cartels are in control. Every side should be against that, right? I don't care what you think about having an electric car or not. By the way, they're not really great for you. I don't care, what you think about, environmental things or anything, any of those things, right? Those are, basic things that the government's trying to push on us. By the way, the whole climate change thing is a lie. But anyway, so having families, try and get here based on a lie, based on that they're going to be somehow have a better life and then be put into basically slavery. I mean, I thought the left was against slavery, but apparently after you get your court date, that could be 7 years from when you get in the country, which means you're a subclass citizen, which means you have no legal standing, which means you're gonna get paid, $5 an hour to do any kind of labor. You have no right to say anything. You're not going to have health care. You're not going to have, any way to, have any way to fight against that or be able to, do anything else until you get your court date, which may be 7 years from then. And then, maybe they don't let you stay. You really had no reason to come here, so we're going to throw you out. So all of your whole entire 7 years or 8 years or however long it took you to get here was nothing. You just lived as cheap labor for somebody for unscrupulous businesses in the country. That's not right. Even families who are fleeing something, at least they could get here and petition to be legal and then, take, citizenship classes and become a citizen. And then, you're allows them to get into the system and be able to, get a driver's license and vote and do all those kinds of things. But that's not what's being allowed at the border right now. There's no judges or anything at the border to, according to RFK. And I've seen many other things, Ted Cruz and other people who have been down there. And it's, if you're going to vote, I think you need to vote. It's almost like the Brewster's Millions time, right? He ran in that movie, he ran on the premise of none of the above. We don't want any of these people in our government anymore. There are very few people that I can even point to, that are worth staying in office. I mean, the occasional, rants from Rand Paul, who was, fighting for everybody's freedom from, medical tyranny, was a nice sight every once in a while. Hopefully we'll get charges against Dr. Fauci at some point, but I don't know. This interview, they go into some of the, things about his uncle's death and, and stuff, that papers that need to be released and things that he knows and stuff is just very, like, he's very learned. I mean, the guy knows a lot of information and a lot of detail that the entire American people need to know. And I very much encourage you to watch it. So, yeah. So I'm not going to play it because that's Tucker Carlson's thing. And I just wanted to give my thoughts and everything else, and just how frustrating, I guess it is, to be someone in the United States and having their government turning against them in almost every way, and realizing that that's what's going on is causing, he says that this year, I think it's this year, he said that so far 8 Border Patrol agents, because of what they've seen and because of what's going on and their frustration, 8 of them have committed suicide. Your job should not cause you to want to end your life. And this is what Biden is causing, right? Depression and suicide in the United States is through the roof because no one is getting any hope from this. I mean, not that everyone got hope from Trump, because people were definitely listening to the news and it was all, anti-Trump, but at least many people were profitable. Many people were doing better, and they had to stop that. People were doing better, and, they had this oligarchy, this cabal had to stop that. And then hence we got, the COVID lie that went through, the country. So, but anyway, that's, I will post the link to that Twitter feed in the comments and section down below. Please go watch that. I think it's important for every American on every side to watch that interview. All right. Thanks for watching this. Take care.